Let's meet the new Republican Party. To win the war to save America, we must first win the war to reclaim the Republican Party, says political analyst Drew Allen, a Texas-bred, California-based conservative author and speaker who writes a weekly blog promoting conservative ideals at drewallensubstack.com. Drew Allen, welcome to Patriot Talk Now. This is our first show. You are our inaugural guest, and we are happy to have you on.
It's my honor, Vic. It's good to be with a Patriot.
Yes, well, I'll be honest with you, we did Trump Talk Now for all of last year, but we made a change in the name. It's the same show, but we don't want to trigger those those folks over at Facebook, so that's why we're using a different title. And we find nothing offensive about the word patriot, although some people do. Well, Drew, tell me, the Republican Party. A lot of people have been talking in anger about people like Mitch McConnell and others who have abandoned Trump, or maybe they never have allied with him in the first place. The Never-Trumpers, the Lincoln Project, that disgrace. And they want to just wash their hands of the Republican Party. I happen to be a Republican state committeeman, so I can't, by definition, do that and don't want to. I think that we need to fight from inside the party, which has been around since, 1854? And has always been a party encouraging freedom and equal rights, and got smeared over a number of decades for the wrong reasons. So what do we do to save this party, Drew Allen?
Well, I was encouraged to hear a lot of your ideas in your opening monologue, which ring true, certainly. The cancer to the Republican Party, despite what Mitch McConnell says, is not Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's actually Mitch McConnell and his ilk. There's always this need for people like McConnell, the so-called moderates. We get somebody like a Reagan who grows the base and is so popular. And then we get somebody like Trump who comes along and does the same thing. And they always want to lurch back to this position of moderation. But the time now is more important than ever before to reclaim that party and make it the American party, the party of the Constitution, because the left has overplayed their hand, okay? They're acting like the Iranians, and they've overstepped. Everyone knows they're Marxists now, and there's nowhere for them to hide. But what we have to do is become a party that's nothing like them. We need to stand for everything they stand against.
Well, if you embrace the truth, you don't have to engage your life in fear. I think the good example of that is Rush Limbaugh, who just passed away. He approached every day with joy and with courage and with searing intelligence, and he just never backed down. And I think if we could follow that example, even though his voice has been stilled, I don't think his legacy has been stilled.
No, it certainly hasn't, Vic, and it's really a testament to him really being the GOAT. I just turned 34. My father is 72. Both of us were texting, and really a lot of despair about Rush's passing. And my dad said it best. He said, "I feel like I knew him." And that's how tens of millions of us felt about Rush. But we've got to pick up, to the point of this Republican Party, we just lost one of our greatest generals. All right. So Rush would want us to continue and persevere in the manner of him and also Trump, and fearlessly proclaim the truth.
And I also noted about Rush, what made it so much fun, whether I was cutting the grass or whatever I was doing and listening to Rush at the same time, I got a chuckle. I always got he had such a great sense of humor, a sense of irony, a sense of weirdness in life. He embraced that, and he knew how to identify it. I don't think I've met a liberal who has a sense of humor or a sense of irony. They all seem to be completely tone deaf to it. Am I wrong about that?
No, you're exactly right. You can look at the cancel culture to see evidence of that. We can't even have comedians who are ironically liberals themselves, like Jerry Seinfeld. They don't even give tours anymore because nobody finds their humor funny. We can't poke fun at anything. They have no sense of humor because the liberal party, the Democrat Party, the liberals, the Marxists now, they need people to live in despair and hopelessness because they create problems and then present themselves with the solutions, right? This is how they operate.
Kind of reminds me of the Puritan who lies awake at night afraid that can't sleep because he's afraid someplace, somebody's having fun. That's a liberal. Joe, you got a question?
You know, with everything that we're seeing going on with the current House and the current Senate, you wonder what we're going to see in 2022, if we're really going to be able to wake up, and if any of this election fraud is going to come back in place. I'm originally from Georgia. I truly feel like Georgia has some serious problems. There is never going to be another statewide Republican candidate win if they don't get this election fraud fixed.
Integrity is a big deal.
Absolutely. And why vote? That's what a lot of people are saying. And when you start getting that atmosphere, you start losing a lot of people voting and giving up, and that's going to impact it even more. So
that point can't be overstated enough. We've got to win a couple battles on different fronts. If we don't deal with this voter integrity problem, where the Democrats are actively continuing to remove all safeguards for our election system, you're right, we won't win another election again. And that's what they're trying to do now, right? They're trying to federalize elections so that what happened in these swing states can happen in all 50 states. So we've got to win that battle and confront that and make sure signature verification and things like that are taken care of. But then we've also got to, and starting yesterday, we've got to get viable candidates who aren't going to join the DC swamp. That's the problem. Where we can get new members and recruits are those agnostics, I call independents, and Democrats who are shaking their heads at what's going on, and they're looking for a new home. But we've got to make sure that we're a bold party that is distinguishable from the Democrat Party.
Drew, where do you see Donald Trump's role in that? In recruiting those people and helping to elect those people, and whether he runs for president or not, what kind of role do you foresee for Donald Trump with the Republican Party?
Well, certainly he needs to be very involved in all these processes. He's kind of paved the way and shown what success can be and what it looks like for the first time in a long time, right? He showed us, we've been fighting the Democrats in a boxing ring, and, they bring, they've got brass knuckles and they tell us to keep our gloves on. Well, our brawler from Queens, met him on their own level, and he really showed us that we could win. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think that there's any problem with considering him running in 2024 even again. I mean, I like to look to CNN to know what we should do, right? If they say we got to get rid of Trump, the way the House and the Senate are so desperate to make sure he can never set foot in the Capitol again is indication that probably he's a viable candidate.
Well, they hate him so much that they're trying to propose a bill in Congress now, at least one Democrat congressperson is, that would prevent any president who's been impeached twice from ever being buried in Arlington. Apparently, they want to chase him into the grave. I mean, that's Trump derangement syndrome beyond any cure, it seems to me. And it seems to me that the hatred is so intense that no amount of logic in the world will ever deter them. So now what happens if he runs for president? They're all going to go crazy, crazier than they are now, which I don't know how I can imagine how crazier it can be than we are right now. As I referred to Joe Biden, it's the day of the living brain dead, and we've got him. He's not running this country. We know who's running it, and we're going to have to stick with that unless we can get the Congress back in 2 years. We've got Mitch McConnell, who's a pretender to the throne, really, running that Senate. Look, if he can't control the Senate his way, he's not going to go Donald Trump's way anyway. So we're in a bind here. How do we convince our people? You're a young guy. I'm a baby boomer, okay? So I'm closer to your father's age than your age. So how do we convince young and old that we want to return to an America run by Donald Trump? I don't have a problem answering that question, but you're a guy in your early 30s. How do you answer that question? How do you convince people that we need him back? And I know that we do, but how do you convince them?
Right. It's going to take millions of people my age that are conservative leaning to speak up and step forward and not be afraid of having a target on their back. I'm trying to lead by example and get others to join me. But I will say I live in California, right? It's a reliably blue state, more than reliably blue. It's a one-party state. And I engage with people on a daily basis that are my age on these issues. I talk to him about Newsom. He really is hated right now on both sides. I talk about COVID with him. I point out the obvious hypocrisy, what they've done in California with these regulations, how sick and unconstitutional they are. And they're on board. They're on board on all these conversation points. And then I think the way you have to present this to young people that aren't already conservative minded is this. There's a new alignment happening, okay? It's no longer Republican versus Democrat, although that still stands to be true. But what we're really up against is Washington, D.C. versus the American citizen. And people are on board with that, okay? Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell, are they really that different? You said in your opening remarks that Nancy Pelosi, of course, had the opportunity to do something to reinforce the Capitol Police, having been warned of what possibly might come. Mitch McConnell got the same warning. Neither of them did a thing.
That's right. Well, Drew, I wanted to make sure people know where they can find your blog. You're at drewallen.substack.com. Do you have any books out yet?
I do. I did publish a book. They can find where to access it there. It's called Uncommon Sense, addressed to the citizens of America on our present urgent subjects of tyranny and civil war.
Drew, I'm encouraged to be able to talk to you. I hope we can have you back on sometime soon to have more time to talk about these issues. I really appreciate you coming on our first show and being a part of Patriot Talk Now. Thank you, Drew Allen.
Thanks, Drew.
It's an honor. Thank you, Vic.